Ready?
Yeah.
Hello and welcome to the Urban Baristas podcast, the show that talks about all things coffee. I'm Braden, Head of Design and E-commerce at Urban Baristas. In today's episode, we'll talk about the effect that COVID had on the specialty coffee industry with founder and CEO Hugh Wardrope. We'll discuss the ins and outs of how the coffee industry was affected and our first-hand experience. So welcome back, Hugh. How are you? Thanks for joining us again today.
Hi, Braden. I'm well, thanks. Good to see you again.
And you? So to get things started off, obviously COVID really came out of nowhere for us, and it was kind of a massive experience of the unknown. So how did it start off affecting you?
Yeah, it was obviously pretty interesting, worrying times when it kind of broke. I remember, reading about this COVID situation in January 2020, I think it was, and thinking, it's probably going to go away, and let's just hold tight for a while, and just trying to think back to how it all panned out, and I think at the time I was going to Brazil. My wife's from Brazil, and we were going down to check the coffee farms and see her family, and I remember speaking to my operations manager, Veronica. And I think it was February, and she's like, I said, should I go? And she's like, yeah, don't worry about it. Like, you're not going to be able to control anything anyway. Just go. So I remember jumping on a flight, and we're out there, and then, then it just really snowballed, and within a week, everything just basically the world blew up, didn't it? And overnight we're kind of locked down, and I rushed back to London in time for the lockdown, and it was just like, I remember watching the Prime Minister address the nation at Richard's house, and then we just had to close shop overnight, and then suddenly everything was just closed. So we had to run around and close the shops down, and try and figure out what to do. I mean, everyone didn't know what was going on. So, it was a pretty crazy time.
Yeah, I guess it was an experience in which no one in our lifetime for sure has kind of had before. So it's really something of the unknown. And like, obviously with owning so many businesses, it kind of must have been quite a huge hardship for you.
Yeah, exactly. It was a little bit stressful to say the least. We have quite a few employees as well, so we had them to worry about, and obviously our income went to zero overnight, which wasn't so cool, and we basically had to figure out what to do with staff. We furloughed all our staff, so that was my number one priority at the time, to look after them. Those guys worked super hard for us, so we furloughed everyone and tried to close down the shops in a health and safety manner, and basically we just sat on our feet for a week or so and just kind of took it all in, and made sure everyone was safe, and then we kind of, after a week or 2 weeks, I started to sit back and analyse what actually is going on in the business, and take a step back and have a look at the big picture of the business, which shops are doing well, where we can improve. And I think Veronica, our ops manager, she stayed on helping us, and then we basically, after a few weeks, we decided, right, let's jump onto the e-commerce space and roasting, really.
And how did you kind of find those experiences? Obviously it wasn't the best thing to close down all your stores, bring income to a halt, but at the same time you found the e-commerce side, you found your roasting side. Are you kind of in a way thankful that you came across and stumbled across those things?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think it definitely pushed us into those areas. Obviously, we got the volumes up. We had probably 4 or 5 shops at the time, and I was thinking in the back of my mind, it's nearly time to take the plunge to go roasting. So then I really just doubled down on those things and figured out, right, where can we roast, and how can we learn how to do it. And we stumbled across the guys at Tate, Lottie and the team, there, and we went and met them. We met another couple of slot roasting places, and then we just found the suppliers, and off we went really. And like Lottie and the team there, they did a fantastic job in teaching us how to roast and oversaw us for the first few months, and then we started out on that, and then at the same time we started trying to figure out e-commerce and the website, and the other thing which we really doubled down on during that time while the shops are closed is working on the urban brand. Redesigned the website, redesigned the brand, we brought on a branding guy, Ben Prescott, and like tried to do those things that you never really get around to doing. So it definitely put us in the business into different kinds of income streams. With e-commerce, everyone was obviously locked in their in their house, and we had to try and figure out how to. We're getting lots of requests from customers, can we take coffee home, blah blah blah, and so we never did any e-commerce before, so then we just knocked up a website and just started packing coffee and sending it out. Didn't really have a clue what we were doing, but we were just sending them out. Yeah.
So how did you kind of find that experience with the e-commerce? Obviously, before you brought me on board, it must have just been yourself running it. I imagine you and Veronica packaging every day, setting up the website.
Yeah, we had Gus here. Gus, he worked with us in the in the shops, and he reached out and was like, "Yeah, can I help?" And he set the website up. He'd help do the packaging and the dispatch. So it was just a pretty, I'd help out. Everyone would help out. Veronica would help out. So we just kind of started off organically, and we didn't start. Then we started playing around with paid advertising, that kind of thing. So it was just all learnt from the internet really, and just trial and error.
And during, obviously, the whole COVID period was still kind of just coming towards the end of it. Obviously, it's still around. Has there anything been a major change within specialty coffee that you've noticed over the period?
I think, there's been, for the physical location side of things, I think there's been a big movement towards the residential areas and the neighbourhoods. Obviously, lots of people are working from home, and those areas are busy, and that's kind of what we were focused on anyway with our most of our sites in neighbourhoods, I think everyone's seen that people are more localised, and it gives coffee brands like ours a good opportunity to build local communities, and that's what we're really focused on now. We've just opened a store up in South Cairn. We've got Wapping, we've got Bounds Green, and we have a lot of loyal customers that come to us every day, and I think even more now, since everyone's, the world's kind of gone back to normal, but we see with the sales patterns that we've got a couple of shops in the city centres, and Monday and Fridays are 50% of what sales are on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So that's definitely changed. I think some of our stores, I think because we were open for takeaway during some of that time of the pandemic, and a lot of people got used to grab and go, take coffee and food. So I think that trend has increased as well. A lot more people are not sitting down as much, but they're part of their routine is grab a coffee and a pastry or something and go for a walk.
So I suppose you kind of got the two areas that really evolve from that is you're probably looking at more residential, because you mentioned people are working from home, etc. So that's something you need to try and accommodate now. And then is there also the increase in takeaway still? Obviously, South Kensington's kind of a mix between residential and near Hyde Park. Is that kind of like an ideal area as such that you're looking for?
Yeah, definitely. Like, my focus now is finding the good residential sites. We actually, opened up one city centre location near Liverpool Street during COVID, and took another office locations. So we'll look at both, but the numbers have got to stack up, and I think the days of crazy rents in city centres are not going to be not there anymore, because they're just not the footfall. So for me, personally, for Urban Baristas now, I want to drive us to the residential areas, around London, outside London, and bring specialty coffee and the Aussie flat white to those local communities. And I think it's a great to build that rapport with the community. And that's what I tell the managers. They in their quarterly rocks, they have to do some community outreach, try and build relationships with schools, with whoever in the local community, because once you get that community spirit, people will come back.
Yeah, for sure. If we're touching back on the furlough thing, obviously for you as a boss for quite a lot of people, I think you've got around 50 at the moment. Was that quite a difficult thing for you to do, to reach out to your employees and say, guys, I'm sorry, obviously this is all going on at the moment, we're going to have to ask you to stay away from work and just stay at home?
Yeah, it was difficult. There was, the whole HR element. It was a bit unknown. What is furlough? I don't think no one knew what furlough was, how did it work. So yeah, we had to go around everyone, person by person, and we message them and call them and make sure they're okay. That was what we focused on. Veronica helped out with that. So yeah, it was heartbreaking for us, and probably for the staff as well, because they didn't know what was happening. They probably didn't know if there's going to be a job. No one knew. And after it settled down a little bit, then everyone got a bit of a clearer picture of how it's going to work. And then we opened some of the sites. We opened up for takeaway, and then it was about, right, how do we make the shops COVID safe? How do we put screens up? All the health and safety elements. So that I think lots of customers forget that what we had to go through to even open a store, and what health and safety precautions we had to do to operate, and protecting our staff, protecting the customers. So it was like a whole new element of the business that you had to focus on. It wasn't just rocking to work. Obviously, we had health and safety standards that were high anyway, but the extra element of, right, we really need to protect my staff. And then when we opened up, who's going to come back, who wanted to come back, who was scared, who was, So then it was, when we did slowly open back up, then it was finding out, right, who was in the right mindset to work. And, obviously COVID was about, so, some people were, more scared than others. So we had to individually talk to them and, bring people back who felt comfortable. And then, then what we found is, a lot of the staff were keen to come back. They got bored of sitting at home, and they wanted to be there and, work. And what really stood out for me is during those times in COVID of, our local shops were open, like Wapping, we turned into such an important part of the day of people in the area, because everything was closed, but we could still get a coffee, so and a chance to chat to somebody. So the baristas, were a vital part to some people who might have been at home isolating by themselves and had no one to talk to, and the only reason they could go out is go to the supermarket or grab a coffee. So become quite important for the staff.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, COVID brought a lot of negatives, and that's all that most people take away from it. Are there any positives that you kind of took away from the whole COVID time period, etc.?
Yeah, I think obviously the e-commerce side of the business and the roasting, I think it's proven to be, the roasting especially, it's great having control of the roasting now, and we've learned how to do that. We've been doing it for a couple of years, and we've just signed heads of terms for a roastery in Hackney. We've bought a 22 kilo Probat, so that's going to be delivered soon. And So I guess that's just fast forwarded that element, and then, like I said, we had the e-commerce, which is, you know, we brought you in, and we've grown that side of the business, and I'm sure you agree that we've learnt a lot over the last 18 months. But yeah, I think those two things, and just highlighting the fact that we have to look after our people and treat our staff well, because they're on the front line. And I think sometimes hospitality workers, they don't get looked after enough, and just making sure everyone's okay.
Yeah, I think over the period that I've been here as well, I've seen a lot of people come to us from different people, whether it be Starbucks or other employees, Costa, etc. And then they kind of experience what it's like to be at Urban, and you just hear kind of not the best things from the other companies. And then when they come here, they really enjoy the environment and stuff. So
yeah,
that's really good.
Yeah, I mean, we try to, I think Veronica, she's the queen of Urban, really. She looks after everyone, and she develops the teams and organises all the social events. And obviously, everyone works super hard, and we have to try and do those little things extra, and treat everyone as well as we can. Okay, it's hard work at times. You need to crack the whip, but other times you need to give them praise and tell them how grateful we are, really. So obviously we brought you in to head up the online. What's your biggest learnings from working in the coffee space? It's pretty competitive, and what have you learned over the last 12 to 18 months post COVID in the e-com space?
I think when I came on board, the e-commerce side of the company, like it was growing straight away. Obviously, we had a few hundred subscribers straight off the bat, but kind of looking at competitors, whether it be Grind, Pact, etc. Obviously, they were ahead of the ball curve, because they saw it kind of coming, saw how they could kind of expand before a lot of other people did.
Yeah, they had the basics in place, didn't they?
Yeah, so I think because they had that, they kind of just expanded rapidly, because it was already there for people to go and purchase. Obviously, like you said, you had people in stores asking whether they could take the coffee home. And from that aspect, that's something you learnt to set up the e-commerce side. But yeah, I mean, looking at it, it's really a competitive thing within the coffee industry, because there's so many subscriptions, so many types of coffee, and the reality of it is, unless you know the brand, you probably haven't had the coffee before.
Yeah.
So it's a fact of how do you get someone to try your coffee and actually subscribe to something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, like you say, we've had loads of learning experiences over the past year, and there's been ups, been downs. But
I think the biggest thing the takeaway is actually trying to get the end customer to try the coffee who hasn't experienced it. And I think once we figured that out, and we gave some not samples, but maybe a bit of discount at the start to get them to try, we noticed that once they tried it, people would turn on the subscription.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we run that discount in which it was, I think, 60% off your first purchase. There was no commitment to a subscription at start. It's just a one-off, 60%. Try the coffee, and I mean, from that we found the return rate being incredibly high to our subscription. So that's where we've grown massively. But
the email marketing side of it as well. Like, I think we all underestimated how powerful that is, and growing your list in store.
Definitely. I mean, there's loads of ways that you can acquire that list. We found multitude through, obviously, discounts online. You've got your QR codes in the window that you can do for people who are just walking past to gather subscription information, or whether it's just small little pamphlets that you place on tables, or just your internet even.
Yeah, definitely.
So many ways, but it's such a vital thing.
And going back to that point about the trends post COVID, I think that's what we're going to try and become. A multi-facet company that's a hybrid of stores and online. We want to have the shop front for the brand, and obviously the awesome Aussie cafe experience, and then also have the ability to use that brand and then grow the e-com side of it, because that's obviously you can't have cafe. You can have cafes everywhere, but as we grow, it gives us further reach out to different areas around the UK.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing with the brand is obviously bringing the Aussie culture from Australia all the way here into London. And somehow with the e-commerce side of things, we've had to take that experience from our cafes, put it in this box that goes through to your door. And I think we've done quite a good job with that. And we've seen so many people stay on with it that, we should really be proud of where we are with that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, exactly right. You look back at when you started and what we were doing and, look at it where it is now, and it's a much more efficient service and on brand, and it's overall a better brand experience, and that that I think what I've learned over the last 2 years is how powerful and important it is to grow the brand, not just flog coffee down someone for £10. So if you take that longer term vision, if you like, we've been going 5 or 6 years. We're only just a young company, and it takes time to grow and go through that journey of growing that brand, because eventually, in the next 10 years, people will be ordering coffee via their Alexa, and they're not going to ask for, can I have a coffee? They're going to say, can I have an urban coffee? So, that's how powerful branding is, and, a lot of people forget sometimes they just want to do direct selling, and then eventually the brand is so important.
Yeah, so I think from that takeaway, obviously there's been lots of negatives, equally just as many positives or thereabout through the time of COVID. But touching on the brand aspects of things, we've got Ben Prescott coming in next week, who we'll have on the podcast just to chat through the ins and outs of branding a coffee shop, the experiences that he had working with us as well, and kind of just getting that experience of the Aussie culture in a cup through your door.
Yep, definitely.
Yeah, thanks for coming on again today, Hugh.
That's all right. It was really good. Obviously, it was a difficult time for everyone, and we're just coming out at the other side now, and it's affected a lot of businesses. It's been a struggle, but happy to say that Urban's in a good place, and we're a bit more dynamic than we used to be, and ready for the next few years of fine tuning things and getting that Aussie cup of coffee out to people of London.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool, mate. All right, we'll see you next week.
Cheers. Thanks, Hugh.
Bye.